Small Group now has official swag. Grab your small group coffee mug before the next small group at our website, smallgrouppodcast.wordpress.com. Click the shop link. Thank you for your support and being part of the small group.
Simper Ubi Sabubi. Always wear underwear. This is Small Group Podcast. I'm Benjamin Maxwell.
I'm Lacey.
And we are joined tonight by a very special guest. One that I have been very excited and anticipating getting on here on our show for a long time now. Sir Dr. William Gladstone the third, sitting down with us tonight. Also Willie G, better known as Willie G.
Wait a minute. Who are you?
I mean, that's not even my full name. You don't even know what my first name is.
I'm the Lizard King.
I can do
You don't
anything.
even know my last name.
No, yeah, my middle name is William. Yeah.
Was that a good enough intro?
That's fine.
I feel like I just did you a disservice. I played it.
It's only down from here. So
Willie G.
Willie G is perfect.
I think that's why haven't we started that?
I don't know.
Oh.
That needs to be a thing.
Man, like I said, I'm very excited. One thing about William, and you'll probably pick up on, hopefully, is, and Lacey and I think we've talked about this. We both agree, like, we can be very natural with you.
Absolutely.
And genuine.
Yes.
And you don't have to worry about any kind of, don't go there, don't go there. Yeah. There's no boundaries.
You're not going to offend me. And the things that you could offend me with, I know you would never say or do, so I don't ever worry about things like that.
Well, we'll see about that.
Well, challenge accepted. All right.
So there are things that offend you?
No.
I was going to say.
Not really.
But so we usually kick the show off with Icebreaker. Miss Bubbles gives us the icebreaker. I have a quick, easy question for you.
Sure.
Who did you vote for in the last presidential election?
Cthulhu. That's a right in.
Didn't even skip.
That's a literal fact. I've done that for the past 3 years. Yeah.
One of these days it'll happen.
Yes.
Well, that brings us to our opening segment.
Jingle bell, jingle yay, jingle good for you.
Princess Bubbles Squirrel.
Yeah.
All the things.
Many titles, yes.
Yes. Okay, I'm got a different kind of question for y'all. It's a would you rather.
Oh,
okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Would you rather spend 3 days in the belly of the fish like Jonah, or the whale?
I didn't mean to squirrel you. Go ahead.
So 3 days in the belly of the fish like Jonah, or an entire year in the ark like Noah. Which one would you rather?
With your family?
Yep. So alone
with my kids?
with your kids.
How much of the family? Everybody?
Are the kids?
Everybody.
Extended family?
Everybody's there.
All the cousins?
Yep.
Oh, no. Wait. They're all in the ark, but I'm by myself in the whale?
Yes.
Oh, whale. I mean, I was going for the ark, and then you started throwing in family, and I was like, no.
I don't know. Just thinking about being in the stomach of a beast or a stomach of a creature like that.
Sure.
Because, I mean, you see all the pictures, like the Sunday school pictures and all the art. It's like this cavernous cave, and and he's got a light or whatever. But you got to know, like, you are being squeezed through an intestine.
Yeah.
That, if you think about the reality of it.
But think about the ark, and there are how many animals on there? And I know you're thinking about, the excrement factor.
No, I mean,
that's in both scenarios.
Hang on, that didn't even cross my mind.
Yeah,
but the Noah's Ark thing, the only thing that I'm like all nervous about is the family being.
No, yeah. That's why I was like, I could go on deck. Yeah. I would go on deck and spend the whole time up there.
I'll take the poop. That's not my problem.
Right. Right.
So with me, I'm like, give me all the animals. Like I get to play with the giraffe
Right.
and whatever. Like absolutely. But one with Jonah, he didn't know that it was going to be 3 days. Like
Right.
if you knew going into it, okay, I just got to survive
that's
it for
very
3
true.
days. Like,
Right.
but he had no idea how long it was going to be. But also, this sounds
Because like even if you think you're gonna die, like that's a terrible way to go.
yes,
Right.
yes. But also, this sounds really bad. But being alone in the dark, that is my version of hell right there. I am
Sure.
terrified of the dark. That is like my number one fear.
Even
So
if you're like being like swaddled, like your full
Yeah.
body swaddled.
yes, like yes,
Right.
all the things. Just yes, just alone in the dark. Period. That is my version of hell.
It did say that the fish spit him out, didn't it?
Yes. Yes. It was the front, not the back.
This is why we get along so well. You knew exactly what I was concerned about.
Oh, we're gonna struggle through this episode, y'all.
Wait, how long are we on the ark? 40 days? 40?
No, it rained for 40 days.
Oh,
and
that's
40
right. It was
nights.
full year.
It was for a full year that they were in the ark.
My dad always says, I hate Olive Garden. They treat you like family.
Yes.
And that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you would have the animals. They could be your therapy animals
Yes.
dealing with your family.
Yes, you have all
But-
the emotional support.
It's a year. I mean, if you don't know going into it, I suppose that's a different thing. But I can do anything for 3 days. I cannot eat for 3 days.
I'm going to come up with something. We're going to test the limits of that.
Okay, that's fine.
So have you ever been to the Ark Encounter in Kentucky?
No.
I haven't either, but I've seen a lot of like videos and images and stuff. I just imagine being in that with your family for a year.
Right.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go family, Ark. Yeah.
Can I choose how old my kids are at the time? Because right now I'm not feeling it, but maybe when they were
Actually,
When they're little.
10 years ago.
with our girl Gabby, and we have grandparents there, everybody there. It'll be a vacation.
It
for
would
That's
be
us.
actually
fun.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
If my mom's there too, she'll watch the kids, and I'll just go do whatever I want.
Well, the only struggle for me would be like not having like Chick-fil-A and Target. Like,
We got plenty
the
of
heck?
chickens.
so
I don't know what kind
You've
of
only got
But-
two
but
chickens.
not-
what kind of animal is
Chick-fil-A.
made out of a Target.
That's such a dad joke.
Wait,
I
is
don't-
chicken clean or unclean? Chicken's clean, right?
Clean.
Yeah, so
Oh.
you got 7 of those suckers. We got 7 suckers.
Oh, because
Yeah.
the clean animals. Yeah. Right.
And then eggs. All the eggs.
Yeah.
All that.
Slimy, sloppy eggs.
Okay. Well, thank y'all for indulging me.
Was that it? Did that open the door or to understanding Sir Dr. Willie G here?
I don't know. I don't know if I'm.
Was that a gateway?
Yeah,
I
I don't
mean-
know if I feel better or more scared. I don't know.
I just won't make any facial expression.
Well, I'm excited too because I feel like this episode is going to be a little free flowing, and maybe we have a lot of different topics we might get to, we might not. We might keep you around and do, rapid fire or something. But there was something. So, Dr. William G has taught church where we go to church. He's taught some classes. I have a lot of small group classes.
Thank you so much for listening and joining in on the Small Group Podcast. Please like, subscribe, and share. We would love for you also to send our podcast to a friend. Our goal is to grow and learn as individuals, also to be a help and encouragement to others in journeys of faith and in matters of faith as we talk with one another and learn from you. So please let us know how we can serve better. And again, thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it.
Controversial topics only. So
Well, that's
Matthew
the
doesn't catch the heat.
Well, especially you've done a lot of different classes, but especially with like age groups, we'll do a lot of, specific Bible studies that break down to age groups,
Mhm.
like 20s to 30s, 30s to 40s, whatever. And so you've led a lot of those, and being in a room full of people, similar age, and with you leading, we really get into some real stuff.
Right.
And I really enjoyed that. There's one topic you brought up maybe just a couple of weeks ago or a few weeks ago now, that I want to I love the idea and I want to get into that. So that's where we're going to start tonight. Dr. William G. So it was, I'm going to butcher it. I'll let you kind of build on it, but it was an idea I think you got from Hemingway.
Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to let you, because it's about basically how do you summarize things, boiling topics and issues down to 6 words.
Right. So the legend is, and I don't know if this was with the Algonquin round table, but he was basically bragging to his peers, I can write a short story in 6 words. It'll tell you everything you need to know about that story. And so the challenge was, all right, go for it. And the short story is called Baby Shoes. And if you do a Google search for Baby Shoes short story, it'll have all this. And again, it's accredited to Hemingway. Not sure if it is true or not. But the story is simply for sale, baby shoes never worn. And that tells you everything you need to know about.
Oh, wow.
So that's the title.
That's the entire story.
No, because think about it.
No, I'm tracking on that. I was just, the title's Baby Shoes.
The title is Baby Shoes, but
you're summing it up as.
But the entire story is for sale, baby shoes never worn. So why were they never worn? What happened?
Is that considered a short story? Because that's it, right?
According to Ernest Hemingway, and he's a Pulitzer Prize winner.
I got a few short stories I feel like I got to spit out.
Correct. So and I used that, and I was doing a class on the crucifixion because Kyle, I'd been asked last minute to throw something together, and Kyle, I went up to Kyle.
I remember that, yeah.
And I said, hey, what would you like to hear about since you're kind of new to all this?
Yeah.
And he goes, well, how about the crucifixion? And I was like, okay, that'll be easy. And it really was not easy to find a whole lot on it.
Well, and a quick side note to that, too, because he actually didn't show up that Wednesday because he had something that come up.
He got sick, yeah.
And while we're in the class, he calls me. I step outside, and I'm like, oh, you're at church. Yeah, we're talking about your topic.
Right, absolutely. And I would refer to where they usually sit.
Yeah.
And, but it was a really good time. And, I used that, and then you came up to me later.
Kyle's been on the show. He's the pod father. He's done a lot for small group getting us going. So those of you listening or regular listeners, you should know who Kyle is by now.
Yes, and I've seen his as well. It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
So, well, I guess kind of walk us through, how did you sum it up and with the crucifixion, or how'd you go about that? I know we dove into a lot of different topics on that.
We did. I really did catch a lot of heat that night because, and again, I didn't really have a lot of time to prepare, and I thought, I'm maybe in between things I was doing at work, and work ended up being wild, and I came home exhausted, and it would be like 3 a.m, and I would just be doing some research or something like that. So I had a lot of loose ends, and certain folks were like, no, that's not it. And I was like, whoa, I never said I'm bringing you the answers. This is just things for us to think about. And that's what it should always be, is not nailing home, this is what we think,
right? But
why do we think what we think, and thinking about that.
You need to, I love those classes where you feel like you're being pushed and challenged.
Yes.
Now, and I think there's an appropriate way to go about that. You don't want to just challenge for the sake of challenging. I know those folks, and it's just mind numbing.
And you don't want to be offensive either. Mm-hmm. You want to approach something that, and not even because it needs to be done, but because having discussion strengthens maybe sometimes what you already believe, and you just need affirmation that this is why, we've arrived at this conclusion on whatever topic.
And that's a great point too, because it's not just about how the class is led. You have those people that, like what you're describing, you don't want to just, you think in terms of, that applying to the teacher, absolutely, of hammering home, this is why we believe, and just going, bullet point by bullet point of this is what you should believe, and instead of having an open discussion. But that also applies to those partaking or participating in the class, because it could be just as detrimental in the, like with someone like you who's leading the class who just wants a discussion, but someone comes in and shuts it down.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing is a good teacher does not come in with the answers.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean in something like math where you've got rules and formulas, or science or whatever, but in something like English and even history. And when I taught English for several years, I might come in with 4 or 5 different answers I wanted them to find.
Right.
But if a student came up with something on their own, and I'm like, "Whoa, yeah, I
Something
never
you
even
didn't
thought.
think about.
I didn't
Yeah.
even think about that."
Yeah.
That's what's vital to teaching, and to learning is the teacher wants more than just to hammer into their head.
Yeah.
This is what it is.
Yeah.
I want to give you enough that you're thinking about it, and then you put your spin on it.
Yeah.
And you come back from there. And when we start getting into, how do we sum up the
Yeah.
Christian faith in 6 words?
Well, and I know we're kind of going down the rabbit hole about classes and teaching and stuff, because I do want to come back to that.
Right,
But
sure.
real quick, because like what you're talking about too is, the approach not only to teaching but to being in a class, the whole, kind of notion that I don't have all the answers, and that's one thing our preacher our preacher Matthew, who that's kind of how he won me over. That's how any quote unquote win me over. Any preacher, anyone I'm listening to, if they're coming from a place of humility,
Correct.
that I don't know. To me, this is one of the key attributes and things that I look for first is I've studied. You want someone who has studied and has dug in, but also keeps that humble nature of, look, I don't know all the answers,
Right.
but this is what I've come to find, and this is what it appears to
Right.
me. Because to me, that's faith. Faith isn't about having the answer. That's the end point. That's where you're trying to get to. Once you've gotten there, there's nowhere else to go.
Right.
Faith is there's a key aspect to faith about not knowing. It's about
Well, that's the
things
whole basis
unseen.
of faith.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
You don't know.
It's not faith if you have the answer.
Correct.
It's fact, and I don't
Right.
like that word. I don't believe in fact, only observation.
Right.
This side of heaven, one day we'll
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what hope is the
Yeah.
expectation of things yet to come, and why we should
not
rejoice
seen.
in that.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
And again, that's what's so great about him is all the different ways that he has presented. I remember a year or so ago going through the 10 Commandments and
The
all
10
the
verses.
yes, all the different ways that can be interpreted.
Yeah.
And he never once says this is actually the answer, and you guys have been wrong all this time.
I have a lot of diatribes on that.
Right.
And, you're going to trigger me here.
No, well, and you're right. So, but just to your point of, and my point of bringing facts, or I won't say facts, bringing information
Mhm.
that then makes your brain start thinking, and then you come up with something as well. Because there's been and that's been a big problem in the church. So is they go to a church where the preacher says the things that they want to hear instead of being challenged.
It's the same concept of news. You have, our news media for the most part is very binary,
Correct.
and people park on one because it reinforces already held beliefs.
Preaching to the
instead of
choir.
pushing you.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
But no, real quick, we're going to get back to the point here in a
Sure.
second.
No.
But that's a fundamental thing for me. What I just mentioned. I feel like of all people, I haven't brought this up on the show yet, but I feel like of all people, you might connect with that concept that there's no such thing as fact, only observation.
Yes. There's no absolute. I'll
Exactly.
say that.
Yeah, because I love to bring that up just to kind of, because when I was first approached with that concept of there's no such thing as fact, only observation, which is presented as a fact, I get
Right.
it, and I love the whole conundrum, but I was really thrown off about it. I'm like, but what about? I feel like gravity's a really go-to. If I drop something and it falls,
Right.
gravity pulled it down. That's a fact. No, that's an observation.
Right.
And so when you bring that up and you make that comment, it can throw people off a lot, and people want to reject that. Sometimes I feel like you're one that's accepting of that, but I bring it up only because that's fundamental to my whole approach to everything.
Right.
And it goes back to the humble thing, the humble nature of, I don't know for certain. No one knows for certain. To me, fact is only the best observation. It's not a definitive end all be all.
Right.
It's the best option that we've been able to come up with. but you have to keep in mind something could come in and replace it.
Right.
Yeah.
And part of I agree with you, because part of the issue for me with a definitive fact is now you've got limitations.
Yes.
And there's two ways that I'm just thinking off the top of my head. First, you might be limiting God, and you're getting into dangerous territory there. But also, you might now begin to limit, well, who can now come to Christ?
Right.
We've reached a solid conclusion about this topic, and now you are not welcome because this is a definitive fact.
And you have to meet.
You have to approach everything with openness and love, and it doesn't mean complete tolerance.
So it's like a byproduct of that approach that not only it's humbling,
right,
once you finally give over to the fact that, or to the point that you will never know for certain. You're just trying to come up with the most logical and most reasoned point, or
right,
but not closing yourself off to more information that could be useful.
Right.
I have one more thing I was going to go with that.
Well, think on that while I say maybe this will drop. So fact is also not just observation, but it's perception, which I guess is observation. Yeah. But and what comes to mind is I've got a really great friend that I went to Lipscomb with, and he was from West Virginia. Mm-hmm. And when it would get cold in Nashville, like in the teens, I'm in sweats and this, and I'm a Florida boy. I'm like layered up, and I would walk in his room, and he is in shorts and a t-shirt, and he's got the windows open, and I'm like, it's cold. What are you doing? I mean, you're crazy. And that was a fact to me. Like, it's like, are you kidding me? And to him, that was like, no, this is perfect weather for me to study. Yeah. I can, I'm not sweaty. I don't feel, I'm at home now.
Yeah.
So fact is really, the temperature might be in freezing, but what is your perception?
Now
of
you're
that?
getting into relativity, which I love. Yeah. And we're going further and further away from our original topic. But I do remember, the whole point was, I was going to make too, is, facts. If you rest on things as a definitive end all be all fact, that it is a period, all stop, full stop, whatever the saying is, you've cut yourself off, which I feel like we've said already, but you've cut yourself off from reopening it and especially when you think spiritually, hey, this is a fact. These are the standards that are set. You risk going back and revisiting those standards and rehashing those things just to let's analyze it again to see, is this a tradition? Is it a biblical standard? What does that biblical standard really look like through the lens of the time that it was written,
right,
versus the lens of modern day?
And that's something that we've lost. And it's when I was younger, it was just, that's how it is.
Yeah.
Nowadays, we try to say, well, this is how it was then. How do we apply it now? When I was an English teacher, my challenge was to make kids interested in something written 200 years ago by a dead guy in another country, and how do you make that relative to their life as a 14-year-old kid in Panama City, Florida?
Yeah.
And what any good writer will do, and this includes the Bible, is they have a way of conveying something that's timeless, because human drama, if you will, has not changed at all since the creation of man. Mm-hmm. So I've just lost my train of, but I will say, okay, something I was thinking a moment earlier is, when you come to a solid fact, you also are limiting yourself to additional knowledge.
Yes. Yeah.
And if all you want to do is use scripture to prove your biased point, you can easily do that all day long, but you're not expanding as a Christian, and you're certainly not helping people, except for other people that believe what you do, which is why
you're just reinforcing.
When you're driving through Nashville, there are half a dozen churches a half a mile apart, because they're all splintered off from each other because somebody, drew a line in the sand and people broke away, which I think is devastating.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. I had a professor once in college, one of my favorite ones. I took him like 3 or 4 times, and he'd have a saying, never trust a history that starts with the history of this or the history of that. A legitimate history would be a history, because you're always looking through the lens of today.
The winners write the history books,
right? That too. But you can try as hard, and I think it's important to try to understand those, the culture of the time, whether you're talking about the Bible or any kind of primary source, you want to go to the primary source, the original language and all that.
Right.
But you have to also keep in mind that I'll never fully understand. I can never fully do away with the lens of modern time. I'm trying to understand, because I've seen just as much. I've seen, those people like, this is what it was during, and even Matthew, our preacher, going back to him, I've even asked him this, because it's like, you'll see when people are talking about the letters Paul's writing to Galatians or Ephesians, and they're very definitive in how they're talking about, well, this is what the Corinthians were struggling with, and this is why Paul wrote this. We don't know that. And I've really tried to check myself in how I present my reasoned, belief and argument or whatever, is that I'm not trying to present it definitively, because I do not know.
Right.
I can infer from context of, okay, it seems like they're struggling with this, but I don't know for sure. But that goes back to like you as much as and hard as you try to look at things through the lens of the time, you'll never fully understand that, and that's something you need to kind of cope with and come to terms with.
Yes, I agree. And I'm not personally interested in finding all knowledge. I just want to find contentment. And if I can use knowledge to get me there, what I found is the deeper I go, the more frustrated I get with my world outlook. And this is something that I said at the silent retreat that Lacey and I went to a few weeks ago, is a lot of people there were finding peace and affirmation of certain things that were all wonderful, but I would just affirm some of the things that I'm frustrated that are going on in the world right now. I feel like I'm, justified in that frustration. And the more I look into things, sometimes I wish I could just be ignorant. Ignorance is bliss. And
in a way, yeah, because I'm with you. And I there's a quote, I'm trying to remember who it was. I've read it on the show before. It's either no, it's not J.I. Packer. Maybe it was. Anyway, no, I think it was John Mark Comer, who basically the gist is of, you don't have to, the whole point of Christianity, the scripture, revolves around a relationship with God.
Right.
And you don't have to be a biblical scholar.
No.
To, to have that relationship. And and actually being diving into those deep weeds like you're talking about, the more you know, the less you know, or the more you learn, the less you know, kind of thing. And it can be a disservice to you. And I've had to check myself, because I've been very passionate and curious to kind of really understand deeper and more. And as I go down those rabbit holes, I have to stop and check myself of why.
Right. Why
am I going down this? And I have to cling to faith and know that I'll never fully understand. I just want to understand better.
Right. Yeah. Right. And, and again, all of the apostles were not, well, I would say most of them were not educated men at all. None of the higher ups in the Jewish hierarchy were part of that. Now,
unless you count Paul, I think Paul was.
Certainly he was. But
the original 12.
Correct. I mean, Matthew potentially was, maybe. I will say this name, Judas. I mean, he was, I would say he was knowledgeable of certain things. And one day I would love to explore that deeper.
Yeah.
But, the fishermen and all that, I mean, they were working class, and they might have been able to read and write and all that, but not necessarily dive into the Torah.
Well, even to that point, you could sum it up as calling them blue collar.
Sure.
But in today's terms, blue collar, they still grew up in that time, I would think, and I'm not trying to sound definitive, this is the impression I get when I'm reading scriptures, they grew up in that Jewish culture where education probably had carried a different weight than what we think of public education, going from kindergarten all the way up to 12th grade. They were raised in a community, I would think, where, Jewish, those stories, those Old Testament stories and principles were pushed very heavily, and intently, to the point of the weight that rabbi carries, the term rabbi, a title and stuff.
Well, yeah, I guess where I'm leading with that is, if someone who knows a lot of things also has a lot of facts that they can shoot down other ideas, whereas people who know the basics but they don't overthink it.
Yeah.
It's about survival every day. And you've got a man who comes in and shows another way, and it's not only is it a way of love, but he's not asking for anything back except for be the same way.
Yeah.
And so that was a lot easier for them to grasp.
Right.
Is this man is making people's lives better, and he's not asking for anything in return that's going to be a detriment to them.
And the scripture does tell us, to grow in knowledge. And that's important.
Right.
Grow in knowledge, grow in wisdom, grow in discernment. But relationship with
Correct.
God has to, and I'm talking to myself here because I have to remind myself, like, it's all about the relationship with God.
Yes.
It's not about to show all these people how much I know, how much I can recite, which is nothing. I have to write everything down.
Right.
But it's about that relationship. Have you ever heard of Wes Huff?
No.
He's kind of come on the scene here in the last few years. I would call him a biblical scholar. The way he goes about it is very, I just love that approach. I'm surprised you hadn't heard of him, but he's one that I kind of look to a little bit as far as his approach.
Right.
And his knowledge is very, it's not just to show, I know all of this. It's geared and presented in a way of just trying to, hey, this is what I have
Right.
found. And this is, very important and can help grow that relationship.
Right. Well, I definitely think that that's important. And I'm not saying we should stay ignorant and just stick by, faith and blah, blah. There's a guy that I watched for a while named Dan McClellan, who is Mormon, I believe, and he's a biblical scholar, and he's got at least
the Mormon apologist.
Yes.
I feel like I might have.
Yes. And he has a YouTube channel. And for a while, I was really enjoying it. But he started just delving into things that made me realize I'm going to get so far in the weeds that I could lose the point of it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to know more so I can feel less and do less and believe less just because now I've got, that's challenging me. And that I don't need more challenges.
Yeah.
I need a lot of times what we should be looking for, I think, is affirmation a lot of times, and not like, well, we're going to stick by this horrible thing that we've been doing all these years, but affirmation in the way of like other ways to find love and express that and give that to other people. And again, without asking anything in return,
Right.
True altruism. So
I've read the Book of Mormon, and I remember reading it, having a lot of mixed emotions and feelings, but kind of similar to what you were just describing. It's like, I don't know. I just didn't feel, my takeaway is I just didn't feel like it was adding anything. It was creating more issues and trying to understand.
Right.
It. Yeah.
Right.
Like I said, this is going to be a free flowing episode.
We have been very lengthy in getting away from brevity.
We're nerding out, and Lacey had to step away, and that's part of our problem too. She's supposed to be here to pull us back, but that kind of stuff, I don't get to talk about that with a whole lot of folks. You're the one, and I'm excited to finally get to talk about it.
Absolutely.
But anyway, returning to Hemingway and the 6 words.
6 words to describe our faith. So we'll just jump into it. So sound effects. So a part of me will be, I want to say what is enticing about being able to sum up your faith in just a few words. And, so good storytelling, for lack of a better expression, does not mean that all the elements have to be filled in, all the characters have to be developed, all the plot lines have to be resolved for it to be a good story. You can catch someone's attention with something very brief. And, there's also the idea of leave them wanting more. And when it comes to Christian faith, that's the idea, is they get, what does this mean? And then they want to know a little bit more and a little bit more. And then the next thing you've got them passing out communion for me on Sunday morning. And I desperately need that just as the person that's in charge of that. Actually, no, that's actually going really well right now because the youth are on fire about it. So, which is wonderful.
That was the game changer.
It was. It was.
No, and to that point, and I'm glad we did go through all that diatribe to kind of set the table for some of this, because this is where I struggle with summing things up to minimal words. Because I'm one, when I'm writing and talking, it's probably apparent at this point, I use multiple words because different words connect differently to other people.
Right.
Because and I don't know if I've showed you this or not, but I have brought this up on the podcast before. Hebrews 11:1. I love it because it's very direct in how it sums up what is faith.
Right.
Faith is the blank of the unseen, or the blank of things hoped for, the blank of things not seen.
Right.
Those two blanks to me I found very interesting, because I've gone through as many translations like I can find, and I'm showing you the list now of all those different translations, and I like to do this exercise where I have people pick out what word means which to you, and nobody's ever picked the same two.
So
there's I gotta do the math on how many different combinations. But if you're trying to think of what is faith, and you're given that list of faith is the blank of things hoped for, the blank of things not seen. Like I said, everybody comes up with their own combination of it. I'd be curious to know of the everything on that list of the ways it's translated, which ways, I guess, speak to you and connect with you.
First word, second word.
So I've actually got it laid out as far as my favorite to least favorite for both. So you went 1 and 2.
Well, no. I'm just saying this is the first part, and that's the second.
Yeah. So faith is the assurance of things hoped for.
Yeah.
This is the words I picked. Faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things unseen.
Okay.
So conviction to me is a big key word that connects it and brings it home.
100%. Ooh, no, not that.
And all of this is just to point to that, when you sum things up into just a few words, it's going to connect. And if you're the one doing the selection of the words, it's probably going to connect with you more than anyone else.
Right.
And that's where I really struggle when trying to boil things down. I can boil them down to what they mean to me, but they're not going to necessarily connect with others.
So I'm going to say essence and certainty.
Interesting. Essence. That's such a vague one for me.
But
and again, that's just my perception.
That's what it is,
perception.
because there's no gray. I mean, there's no black and white. There's everything is gray. So the essence is something, when you blend a whole bunch of different sodas together, some people call it a kamikaze, some people call it
the essence of Willie G.
Right. So not every one is the same. The essence of anyone's belief, anyone's relationship. I mean, my relationship with you is different than your relationship with Thad. It's different with my relationship with that. So the essence of all of that is made up of our different personalities. So your faith is going to be made up of your different perceptions based on your, what you've been through, how you see things, and honestly, what your end goal is.
Yeah.
If you've got, or if you've even got
motivation,
one. I've
experience.
been aimless for many, many years now. Reckless and dumb, as my mother calls me.
Anyway, I didn't mean to sidetrack us again.
No, I think that's wonderful. And then certainty is what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's something about the word conviction that really drives it home.
Yes.
But I found it fascinating and I got to start tracking it better, that nobody's ever picked the same combination. And
interesting.
The same kind of thing. I had another exercise with, divine nature, 2 Peter, to be partakers of the divine nature, a supplement to your faith, virtue, knowledge, and so on.
Right.
Brotherly love, Philadelphia is one.
Mm-hmm.
It's translated Philadelphia. Brotherly love, mutual affection. I prefer mutual affection because I feel like it connects on a broader sense.
I agree.
But I've thrown it out there. So brotherly love, mutual affection, and what was the other translation? It's mutual. Anyway, let's just say brotherly love and mutual affection. I'm forgetting the other one. I've thrown love and affection. Which one's more subjective? And then I'll ask brotherly and mutual. Which one's more subjective? And everybody had different takes.
Yeah.
It's like when you isolate them one at a time, they make different connections than when you put them together.
Right.
Like mutual affection, and mutual, they give different impressions, I guess. Anyway.
I could. Yeah, that's a rabbit hole we could go as far as affection versus love goes.
Yeah.
So where do we want to go now? Do we want to go to some of the things, the brief
you
things?
You lead the way here. We're free flowing.
Free flowing.
With Willie G.
Okay, so let's look at I think someone came up with this one during that class, but just some that I've come up with as far as 6 words that just define the Christian faith. And again, why are we trying to do this? Something quick and snappy, get someone's attention. I am not in love with any of these,
Right.
and I'll give my reasons why. But the first one is, we sinned, he died, we live. So thoughts on that one? He sinned. No, we sinned. Ooh. Hello. Can we edit that part out? We sinned, he died, we live. What's the problem with that?
Who's he?
Yes.
And what's sin?
So, right. So you have
how
to,
objective do I need to look at
I mean,
this?
that's the problem.
Yeah.
Is you have to already know certain things coming into it.
Mhm.
And I you know what Letterboxd is? It's where you go and you talk about the movies you've watched and you rank. And you,
Oh yeah.
So I watched an old version of Wuthering Heights, which was my favorite book in high school and college, and I realized anyone watching this 1940 whatever version with Laurence Olivier is going to have to know the story of Wuthering Heights, or they're going to be kind of lost. I mean, it kind of works on its own anyway, but the problem with this one is, who is we, who is he, and what is that? And then also, if you do know all of that, he died, and that's how it ends.
Yeah.
So
we've gotten into this a little bit already. Taylor has that question that stirred up a lot of a fun kind of debate. He asks, if you were to go into the future, but you can only take one book of the Bible with you, which book would you take? And you run into that same situation. We started to find out there were two main go-tos. There was either majority of folks either pick Matthew or pick John.
Right.
And it's interesting because I think a lot of folks take into consideration of, if I had to explain it in very limited source, which one explains it best. And Lacey even picked Mark because her thing is that he gets right to the point.
Right. And that's the thing is like, we're short on time, basically.
Yeah.
If you're, I mean, I could get all kinds of philosophical with it. I mean, you think you've got all this time to bring someone in, someone's a visitor. How do you keep their interest? Why are they there in the first place? Well, they're passing through town. They're already a believer. They always like to come wherever they're going, and then they go back to wherever, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Someone is looking for something. How do you keep them there? And I when I count the money with Doc and Tanner and Will, one of the things we talk about, like old school Palo Alto and things like that. And, Doc knows certain things, but I go back all the way to the early 70s. And, I can remember as a kid, someone gave a prayer that they basically just went through the crucifixion, and it was very graphic. And there was a couple visiting, and they were very put off by that, and they never came back.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
but even that it's a very, I don't know what the word is. It's very complicated in how much you want to give into that, because you're never gonna be able to. I guess it depends on what you're trying to do. You're trying to keep them there. Basically, to sum it all up, you get to a place you have to give it to God, because I'm not going to be able to. I don't have the knowledge and wisdom to know what single thing connects with every single person.
Right.
Even those who are regular, and that's one thing we've talked about before that I love about our congregation is that it's very diverse in thought and all different levels of economics or political. We've been able to keep a diverse group together seeking God first, which I love that. But still, you're never going to be able to connect with everybody. So how much do you cater to that, I guess, is the question.
Exactly. And this is another thing is we beat ourselves up as just the church in general. I'll say Palo Alto, I'll say, all of combined for not retaining.
Yeah.
But there's got to be a certain level of commitment from the person visiting. Like if they want to come and be wowed in one way or another,
and I guess
that's partly on them that if we didn't wow them in the way they were expecting.
I think that's entirely on them. This is my take on it. That's entirely on them. I can't control, and maybe I'm cynical here because I've kind of given up on trying to influence and cater to folks because I've never been really good at it. So I go all into what am I passionate about, and my core place is, how am I serving God?
Right.
And basically, and even my prayer life, it's more of, God, you just work through me. I'm obviously not good at this. You use you
Right.
speak and you select the words. You show me what I need to do, and I try to be very open to that. But it's at the same time, it's like, I'm serving God. I'm a sinner. I'm trying to fix myself. Here, if you want to come along with me, let's go. How can I help you?
Right.
And keeping that servant mentality.
Right.
But it's so, I can see where people can get so fixated on, I guess they call it the seeker sensitive mentality, where you're only catering to getting people in.
Right. And
Yeah.
it's so, and that when I was a kid, we had 2 church softball teams, the blue team and the red team, I believe. Somebody from old school Palo Alto
We
reminded me
keep
of that.
politics out of church.
Oh, I didn't even realize that. Wow. And so the rule was to play softball, you had to come at least 3 Sundays in a month. And if you didn't, you couldn't play that. I mean,
it's to keep the ringers out. I get that.
but I mean, I just
We had a
remember
lot of ringers in our game last night.
oh, well, I mean, but this was like playing other churches who had other teams.
Okay.
Yeah. This was like not what we do every quarter. This was like uniforms and blah, blah. And they go and play other churches and stuff like that. And I just remember thinking, well, I mean, why would we want someone there who's just there for the sports? And I know the
Because
idea
we
is
want to win,
right.
William.
Exactly. But I don't like sports. So that does not jive with me in any capacity.
You wouldn't understand
No,
the winning mentality.
No, I don't. But I just don't. I never did understand why would exactly that. I just never understood why have someone that you're going to force to come to church just so they can play on the softball team.
That's actually a great point. In the way force someone to come to church,
Right?
you
And
get
just
that mentality of that, and that's opposed to what we're
right.
You to not forsake the assembling together in order to stir up love and good works.
Right.
You're there to encourage one another.
Right.
And when you say force, you get that, you hear kind of more the worldly, secular, again, I love-hate relationship with that term, but the mentality of, I don't go to church because I don't believe God keeps attendance, or, that people start thinking of church in that way as an obligation. And that's not what it is. It's there to feed and serve and heal.
Right.
And yeah, it just,
I mean, and into that, I'll say, and this is my contrarian attitude coming out, but there are times when I am not in a good mood and I need to go to church because I know it's going to help me calibrate things
I've
out.
never met that William.
And then there's times when me being there is not going to do anybody any good.
Right.
So it's like when I come to work and you're not talking today. Well, don't want to spread my, frustrations right now. And if you're coming to church for the wrong reasons, I'm not saying don't come. I'm just saying, think about why you're there and why you're making a commitment. And are you going to be there in a year based on why you're there right now?
It's like the same concept with communion, and they talk, and I think it's Paul, it talks about like, if it's better that you don't partake if you're going to abuse it.
Right.
Or, not treat it properly.
Right.
That's a biblical kind of thinking.
Right. So why do we care? Why do we have coffee and donuts every Sunday? And
because
people,
the coffee makes me happy and the donuts make Gabby happy.
Right. Exactly. But there are people that get upset if they don't have the kind they like, and I'm just like, man, there's other things to worry about in the world than no one's going to go to heaven, yes or no, based on if they got a sprinkled donut. And
I think Kyle said it in a previous episode, and it would have been great if he hadn't missed that Wednesday night and brought this up in that class he asked you to teach. But Christians really ruin it for other Christians, or really ruin it for non-Christians.
Absolutely. And that's something, and I say things, I believe in our Sunday school class, someone said something like that, and I just said, preach, because the biggest problem with Christianity is the Christians, and they get bent out of shape over something that is not in any way integral to what you're trying to do as a Christian.
And I kind of struggle with that line. I get the concept and what it's saying, it's people screw it up for other people. Is really what comes out of that. When you bring Christ into it, Christ isn't screwing it up. Those who are serving Christ are if there's we all fail and fall short, but it's when you to say it like that, Christians screw it up for non-Christians. I get where that's coming from, but still, I'm a little uncomfortable with bringing Christ into that.
I agree. When you say it that way, yes. But from an outsider standpoint, someone who does not believe, and they're going to give you all the reasons why, they're going to give it a name because we like to label. I mean, what is your relationship status? Well, we don't want to put a label on it, but we're dating, I guess. She's my girlfriend. I mean, whatever. I am single, ladies, by the way, if there's anyone. But
we don't put a label on ours.
Hey.
Yeah, the state of Florida does.
I put a ring on it. What were you going to say? I'm so sorry.
No, I love that our church does the coffee and donuts thing because it's a conversation starter.
Correct. It's an icebreaker. Absolutely.
Yes, and there is
Make
something
people feel comfortable.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
But I don't know what it is about. I am so much nicer when I have a cup of coffee, cup of water, something in my hand.
Right.
That's true.
It like there's something scientific about it. I don't know what it is.
I was going to say a donut.
It's like
if she has a donut, she's a lot happier.
I'm a
and
lot
nicer.
happier with a donut in my hand.
When you watch a TV commercial that's a local ad and they don't know what to do with their hands and they're getting in front of them and then they move them and you can tell that's that's
Dan's
just
pond?
Right.
somebody next door that's doing that.
Free
You've got a
hug.
cup of coffee in your hand. You've got something. There's something that's a psychological subconscious type thing, and I'm sure someone with a degree in that could give it a name. But if you've got something in your hand, that part of your focus is kind of on that as well, instead of the entire conversation. Like if you have a purpose, like when I ate out with Thad and Stephanie and I was joking around with the server, and if I had just seen her on the street, I wouldn't have joked around with her, even if it was, hey, or I've got to have a reason to interact with you, take my order, whatever it is. And then one of us can cut up and we can make a joke. So if a visitor comes up and they decide they want coffee and a donut, they say, hey, how are you? Where are you from? And when Sarah and I are serving them together, she has the fancy ones. She goes, mine are way better. And, it's a competition and it's a way to make them feel comfortable. Hey, this is a church that's, likes to laugh, likes to have a good time. And I will say that is the appeal that Palo Alto has always had.
Yes.
Is we're very open to bring anybody come on.
Yes.
And we'll find a place. We'll find your place here, not a place, your place here. And that's what's wonderful about Palo Alto and has been ever since I can remember. And I won't talk about any other churches in the area.
Well, but so Gabby is in her stage right now where she's, pretending to be shy and she'll kind of hide behind us or whatever. And Mr. Bobby Sullivan always walks up to her, hey, Gabby, how's it going? Whatever. And she'll pretend to, kind of be shy. When he says, hey, Gabby, you want a donut? She'll go running up to him. And I love it.
Yes.
And so she associates Bobby Sullivan with, I get a donut, and she loves it, and it just makes her happy. And I love that.
Right. And I have noticed observationally, a year ago, that was genuine shyness. Now she's playing a game.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean,
she's gotten donuts out of it.
100% girl there. She's going to be breaking hearts in 15 years.
So what were some of the other...
So, and I will say one thing I do like about the ambiguity of it is if that intrigues you and you come in and you say, who? Oh, well, let me tell you who and what that means.
Okay.
So, again, you don't have to play all your cards.
Yeah.
So, but again, one thing I don't like about this one, he died. Well, so this dude that did all these great things what does that mean?
Yeah.
So ask more or that turns me
same
off.
with live. Like if I have no background in scripture or the Bible, I'm alive.
Right.
Why would I need anyone to die for me to live?
Correct.
I don't know the distinction between dead in sin or dead and, live in the world and live in Christ.
Living water versus the water where you will thirst again.
Yeah.
So this one is similar. He died, we live for eternity. So that one's got a little bit more of a positive spin. I was like, well, why did this guy die? Maybe people might be able to relate to that more. It's like, man, the world is rough out there. And there's a lot of people sacrificing, parents sacrifice their whatever so their children can have a better life. I mean, that's been, for generations upon generations, the idea is mom and dad work harder so that brother and sister don't have to. And then they continue on that idea. So who died so that we can live forever?
Well, and that's the part that stands out to me. Live for eternity. That's very intriguing, and that
Right.
gets my attention, regardless of if I'm just trying to think objectively and think without a background in God, like, a relationship with God or the Bible. That would spark my interest immediately. Like, what is that? What does that mean?
Right. Does it mean I'm immortal now?
Yeah.
I mean, or
I want to know. I definitely go back to what you say. You want to open the door. That definitely gets my attention.
Right.
To ask more.
so another one is similar. He died, he rose, we live. So, and you could interchange he with Jesus. Jesus died,
Yeah.
Jesus rose, we live.
You're just counting the words, not the syllables.
I'm like, you have no idea how my brain works with
Syllables.
stuff like that. So the part of this is an
By the way,
OCD.
Miss Louver Alabama over here, we can turn anything into multiple syllables.
Oh, faux work.
Anything.
2 parts in faux work. I believe she did that at the softball game the other day, and I made fun of her, and she didn't catch it. She was saying, I think, forward, and I was like, yeah, there's 2 parts in that word, aren't there? I was walking down, and I was like, I guess she's ignoring me, and I'm going to let that happen.
Jingle bells, jingle yay, jingle good for you.
That's my woman.
So here's one that I did not come up with, and so for me, as you said, yes, I was doing syllables and blah blah blah. Syllables. Thad Stokes. He sent, "God is real, live life accordingly."
I kind of like that.
I
one.
do like that, and I mean, so there's a
But
bit,
who's God?
but right, but there is God is real. So if you're a happy sunshine person, it's like, man, yes, I will live my life so that I can be like God and then be with God. But that's also kind of ominous and threatening. Is like, God's real.
Well, it's also to the point, or if you're very literal or very technical, live accordingly. Like those are terms that I can connect to. Like, okay,
Right.
there's a standard. I can live according to that. Or like when you say according, you're referring or inferring to some kind of standard. Someone like me, I love that. I love it spelled out. I love it clear, decisive
Right.
boundaries. So that's what it infers to me, and that's why I like that one.
And the problem all three of us are going to have is being raised in the church or in a church. I mean, Ben and I were the church. Lacey was just a church. Go ahead. Okay. I joke for all you non-Church of Christ people out there. Anyway.
I love the stereotype humor.
Right.
I haven't done it on the show. I haven't felt comfortable enough to do it on the show yet, but I'm so glad my wife has a sense of humor because we can laugh about it. And I'll do COC stereotypes too. I love that.
Look, my father was raised Church of Christ. My mother was raised Methodist, but they went to a small church in West Tennessee that was Methodist and Presbyterian. They couldn't afford each their own building. So one guy would preach one Sunday and they had no idea which one was because they were just people coming together and doing what they need to do, But the Church of Christ was like, oh, well, you don't. I don't want to offend anyone. You know what? I do. I don't care.
By the way, you'll get a kick out of this. I don't. Hopefully, people know us by now to know that we joke or know our sense of humor. But my rooted testimony,
yeah,
I labeled it or titled it "How I Saved My Heathen Baptist Wife."
Perfect.
People thought I was joking.
That's the thing. Is when you've got a sense of humor like that, you can be telling the absolute truth, and everyone thinks, "Man, he's such a character." It's like everything I said was 100% accurate, but you think I'm joking, and I'm absolutely not.
But see, that's more of a stereotype on COC than it is Baptist.
Yes.
That's the kind of humor I love.
Right.
Yeah.
But
it's all in good fun.
But to my point with like the brevity of these 6 words is we can't help but come into it preconditioned with the fact that we've been raised in the church, raised in Christ, raised with certain beliefs and understandings, and who cares about the nuances of the different denominations? Whereas someone who has heard of a church, but I was probably in my 30s before I met someone maybe older than that, who did not know anything at all about Christianity. Because when we were younger, it was, and I've said this to Matthew, and I said it to many people before, when we were younger, it wasn't, did you go to church? It was, where did you go to church? And that's why we had two softball teams that played other softball teams.
And I need to know so
churches.
I can judge appropriately.
Right.
Accordingly.
Right. And no, that would be, and that would be it. I mean, it was
but
just,
to your point, it's so important to not just to relate to those people who have zero background or limited background or different background.
right.
But it's so important to grow deeper and stronger in your faith, to identify those preconceived notions.
Right.
Like go back to the basics.
Right.
And under those things you've taken for granted, like faith. Do you really know what faith is? God, do you really know who God is?
Right.
And really go back to those basic fundamental things that you've taken for granted. And I'm talking to myself, this is what I'm always doing, is trying to identify those terms. I have a list, like even in my Bible, of terms that we sing and say over and over again: worship, holy, praise, glory. What do those words actually mean?
Right.
Do I really understand them? And doing that, you identify those preconceived notions. You can start to grow in your understanding of each one of those things. Faith being such a very crucial part when you go into
Right.
Scripture. It's so you grow deeper, but you also grow in how you connect with others.
Right. And that's interesting that you said some of those words, because I was just looking up short Bible verses, and 1 Thessalonians 5 has a lot of that. And what, rejoice always, pray always. I mean, you don't really have to have context around that to know what that means. Like, what are we rejoicing in? We're rejoicing in the hope. You know, what are we praying for? Whatever needs prayer. You know, and another one is, do not quench the spirit. Now, we could really get in a Church of Christ quadrangle with that thing.
That term quench, that brings up like a previous episode we've done. We did Holy Spirit, and then we did an episode on works of the flesh. When you go to the works of the flesh in Galatians, there's a lot of those words in there. A lot of them are, to me, come across as a little antiquated, a little outdated, because they just don't. What is enmity? What is,
Right.
So when you say quench is borderline one of those words. It's like
a bit archaic.
I don't have anything to hold on to conceive what it, or perceive what it's talking about.
And also, when we use quench now, it's like, I'm quenching my thirst. You know, I'm very thirsty. Here's a Mountain Dew. But when you, in this case, quench is a negative word. Quenching the spirit means you're getting rid of it. You're eradicating
awesome
it.
Is too, right? And during the maybe Old Testament or what? Well, not because they're speaking Old English. You know, the language of Jesus, not our English.
Correct.
No, but there's like awesome in our vernacular is great. Awesome, tubular.
Right.
But awesome is more of a fearful
it's a fear.
respect.
It's yes. It is trembling before God. In awe does not mean, man, that was incredible. It means, whoa, I am a little bit afraid right now. It's like Aslan. Aslan is good, but he's not safe. And I'm in awe of that guy because he's
it's like lightning strike a tree next to me.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Not just cool.
Right.
But hey, I was that close.
When you live to tell about it, it becomes awesome in a tubular way. In the moment,
it's awesome in the Old English way.
In the Old English way, in Jesus English way. Yes, correct.
I just love that y'all just use the word tubular. Like, just.
I haven't said that word since probably 1987.
That's Aramaic, I believe.
Yeah, it is.
That's one of my favorite jokes of all time. Is, you always have that guy in church that stands up, and when he prays, he reverts to Old English, like I, thou.
Yes.
And that's how he prays. The language of Jesus.
Right.
I love that.
We used to sing "As the Deer," and youth and stuff. Panteth and thee and thou, but then they would mix in, and I would get so agitated, would stop using King James English and then throw in a you. And I was like, we finally started singing it without any of the these and thous. And I don't know. I mean, it's something dumb to be upset about.
There's one worse than that. Send your rain, and it goes back and forth between RAIN, REIGH,
REIN,
which I understand.
Right.
The RE, is it REIGA? Anyway, reign as in reigning over,
Right.
like a king, ruler, authority.
Correct.
I understand that. I don't understand. In a way, I kind of understand send your reign, like RAIN. No, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. It's way inappropriate for what we're about to discuss. Lacey's back to keep us straight because earlier we were going down every possible avenue. But anyway.
All right. So any more of the 6-word?
No, I don't have any. Do either one of you have 6-word?
I'm not going. I'm going to refrain from it, and especially, and I've already talked about it a little bit. We're running out of time. Kind of summing up a little bit of a couple of other things that you were going to talk about, the Bible verses and short Bible verses, and you kind of hit on a little bit already. When we take Bible verses and shorten them, I have experienced firsthand a lot of detriment to that. I can see a lot of detriment. I see where the benefit comes from. What you're talking about, you're opening a door, but I've also seen where people get stuck on that.
Oh yes,
we're saved by grace. We're saved by grace. We're saved by grace.
Right.
There's a lot more to that Bible verse.
Right.
We are saved by grace through faith.
Right.
And we are saved by grace. I'm not taking anything away from that. I absolutely believe that we are saved by grace, but there's so much more there. But so again, I see what you're saying, and I'm with you. You want to be intriguing, open the door. You want to just get the attention of somebody in a good way. But I can also see where people hang their hat, even people that are in the door, have been in the door, who are leading the group, can get hung up on those phrases without ever expounding on them. That's the key, is that you eventually have to expand on it. Otherwise, we're saved by grace. Well, then there's no reason for me to be here.
Well, and that loops it back around to what we were discussing earlier, is fact. So if you're limited to these 2 words, and this is a fact to you, you've now, well, what more does that mean?
Yeah.
So you've got to have the context around it. And so, the idea of this was, you had approached me about the 6 words, and that just got me thinking about shorter verses and how can they be used.
Yeah.
Like the most famous one is Jesus wept. And, there's a whole backstory to that. But to me, what's really important about that is you've got a perfect person who feels for the people that are in his life. Like he is just as human as anyone else, and he is crying over someone he has lost.
Yeah.
He is crying for the people who have lost him. And that is a metaphor for the sin of the world, that he could, he wasn't just here being perfect and awesome and healing and blah, blah, blah. Like he had emotional investment as well. And it's just, these are things when you're digging a little bit deeper and you just want to think about things, you wouldn't necessarily get up in front of the congregation and say, rejoice always, and then walk away and say, well, what does that mean? Because no one's going to take anything from that.
Right.
So, this is, I'm not going to say that by any means this is meat of the spirit, but.
Well, and two, I do want to get some actual scripture in here before we wrap this. Because to me, there's becoming, it's seemingly, I don't want to boil things down to overgeneralize and oversimplify things, but I get the impression they're starting to become a little bit of a binary in that, you have the saved by grace, and then you have the faith without works is dead.
Yeah.
Those 2 verses. Ephesians 2:8-9. That's the verse I'm referencing when I'm saying saved by grace. For by grace you have been saved through faith, and this is not of yourselves; it is the gift of God, not a result of works, so that no one may boast. And I think that's important too.
Right.
And that's another thing too, is if you're going to boil it down, we're saved by grace, at least throw out, cite your source.
Right.
So I can go and see okay, that is true. We are saved by grace. You have been saved through faith.
Right. But because what it's really trying to get you to do is, I want to get grace, so I'm going to do all these good things so I get grace. It's, I've got grace, and I'm so thrilled by that I'm the compulsion is to go do wonderful things. God wants us to be compulsory with everything that we do.
Well, and that's literally the next verse, is we are saved by grace through faith, so that no one can boast through his word. But we were created to do good works.
Right.
That is literally the next verse.
Right. And we're not doing it to get grace. We're doing it because we cannot help it. Like when I do something sweet for my kids, I mean, even though they're rotten sometimes, I just can't help but buy them something that they want every time. And that's, so you need to talk, Ben, because
So I also wanted to read the other verse I just referenced to, James. I try so hard to give as much context as I can. James, I'm going to back up a couple of verses, but because for the sake of time, I can't give it its full due. But James is one that definitely, Ephesians 2, or all of it. But go back and read the full context, like Lacey was talking about, 8 and 9.
Yeah.
8's usually the one that gets chopped up. 9 is just as important for the context. But anyway, James 2:26 was what I was referencing and summing up. I'm going to back up just a little bit to verse 24, James 2:24. You see that a person is justified by works and not by faith alone. And that's such an important,
absolutely,
especially the whole term justified and righteousness is very similar in the Greek. And to the point that it can almost be interchangeable at times. Just, justified, justification, righteous, righteousness. All it goes together. I find that so fascinating. Romans has a lot to say on that, by the way. But in verse 25, in the same way was Rahab the prostitute not justified by works also when she received the messengers and sent them out by another way. And then verse 26. For just as the body without the spirit is dead, so also faith without works is dead. And they complement each other. That's the thing. I've noticed that it's become contentious sometimes, and I've been part of that. I'm talking to myself. I've gotten contentious about just saved by grace, and that's absolutely true. But there's so much more if you dig just a little further and read in context that James isn't contradicting Paul. He's just, you're saved by grace through faith. Now what?
Right.
You're justified by works. Works, the righteousness is tied there with works.
Right.
But like you were saying, and I think this is absolutely vital, is that you're not doing it to earn. You're not doing it, as a transactional kind of thing. You're doing it out of a conviction.
Correct.
Faith is the conviction of things hoped for. Right. I am doing it because I am convicted. I am passionate and I am persuaded that he is able. And that's why I'm doing it. And that's the relationship. Going back to where we started, having that relationship with God is at the base, at the foundation.
Well, and also, so we talked about fruit of the Spirit on one of our last episodes. The very first fruit of the Spirit is love. And so the good works, it's acts of love.
Right.
Love God with all your heart, your soul, your mind.
And love your neighbor.
Yep.
So it's love God, love people. Those are the good works right there.
Right. And if you've got love, then the rest of the fruits of the Spirit come a whole lot easier. In fact, they come naturally.
What is love? What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me. No more.
That's a Hadaway.
I thought Paul wrote that.
I think that's Hadaway's first name is Paul Hadaway.
Oh, is it? So I was right. Anyway, man, this episode got away from us quick.
It really did. It did.
And it's all Lacey's fault.
Yeah.
But, man, free flowing.
Yeah.
I had a lot of safety topics to get to, and we didn't even finish our first one. But, man, I'm so glad to have you on this. This has been... I've had a lot of fun.
I had a blast. I thought this was wonderful.
All the people listening, by the way.
Sorry.
Shout outs to, man, I have my list here of our
patrons.
Our patrons, our small group family members, Mobile, Alabama, Dothan, Alabama, Kirklees, England. I've never heard of Kirklees.
Isn't like a church? Kirk.
Yeah, I guess so. G'day. Throw another shrimp on the Barbie. That's what they say in England, right?
No.
Sorry. We just lost
them. They say in England's prison.
Aurora, Colorado, Eva, Alabama, Marysville, Ohio. Thank you guys for joining us. And I you guys may not got anything out of it, but I sure did because I had a blast. This is stuff you don't get to talk to, about a whole lot. And not a lot of people are interested in.
Right.
There's no such thing as fact, only observation.
Yes. Crisis and observation.
But anyway, we're definitely gonna have to have you back for another episode.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Willie
you.
G.
Wait a minute. Who are you?
I don't know why that kid reminds me of you for some reason, but Sir Dr. William Gladstone checking in. Yeah, well, we appreciate all of you guys joining us as usual, being part of our small group family. Please comment, reach out to us, send us questions, topics, whatever you want to talk about. If you want to be on the show, let us know. We'd like to see if we can do that, and we just want to hear from you guys. But until next time, guys, thanks for joining the small group.
Have any questions or any topics you would like to discuss? Or if you have any comments about anything discussed in small group, please let us know. You can comment or message us through your podcast platform, or you can email us at go.bear.lobster@gmail.com. You can also send us a message at our website, smallgrouppodcast.wordpress.com. Click on the Contact Us button.